Hey folks, welcome back to Stoic Talks. Have you ever noticed that the more you give, the less you seem to receive in return? You're always there, doing the little things, being the thoughtful one, but they just don't seem to appreciate it. In fact, it's almost as if your kindness has become invisible. You text them first, you make plans, and you show up time and time again, only to be met with indifference or half-hearted responses. It feels like the harder you try to be nice, the more they take you for granted. So, why is that? The truth is, when you're too nice, people don't see it as kindness. They see it as a weakness. They assume you'll always be there, always available, always ready to bend to their will. And that's when they start treating you like an option, not a priority. As Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." How you've been reacting is likely the reason why you're feeling undervalued right now. Your desperation to attract them, your constant giving, and your fear of being forgotten have made you react in ways that actually weaken your position. Instead of drawing them closer, your endless acts of kindness have only shown them that you're always available, always eager to please, and that desperation is what's creating the distance. You see, when you continuously prioritize someone else's happiness over your own, you're sending a message that your needs don't matter. Over time, this erodes their respect for you and places you in a role where you're easily overlooked. Stoicism teaches us that true power comes from within, through our actions and choices, not from seeking approval or validation from others. Think of it like a magic trick. The magician doesn't reveal all their secrets up front. If they did, the audience would lose interest. It's the mystery, the restraint, that keeps people engaged. You need to do the same in your relationships. In today's video, we'll uncover how shifting your reaction can completely change the way you're perceived. You'll learn why being nice all the time isn't the answer, and how to regain control of your value by stepping back. Ready to stop chasing, stop begging for attention, and start standing in your worth? Stick with me, because we're going to break down the 7 reasons why you should stop being too nice and how to transform your mindset and relationships. So folks, before we dive deep, it's time for today's affirmation. As our wise Stoic legend Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This is your moment to declare the change you're ready for. Quickly close your eyes and repeat after me. I quit being nice. Now, don't just say it, declare it. Throw it out into the comments. Let everyone know you're done being taken for granted. Let the universe find out that you're ready for this transformation. You're reclaiming your power today, so don't skip this step. Declare it loud in the comments. Done, my Stoic friend? Let's get started. Now, before we dive into those solid reasons, let me clear something up. Something critical. Your fear. Yes, that nagging fear of being left behind. You worry that if you stop being overly nice, if you cease to play the role of their personal jester, they'll drift away, leaving you in the dust. But let me tell you this straight. Being excessively nice isn't the spark that ignites passion or respect. Look at where standing too close has gotten you. Nowhere near where you want to be. You are valuable. There's no doubt about that. The sheer fact that you're willing to go to such lengths for others is proof of your worth. But here's the hard truth. They don't see it, and they won't. Not until you stop handing your value to them on a silver platter. If you want to attract their attention, if you want to show them what they're missing, you need to start valuing yourself more than you value their approval. You see, every time you bend over backwards to please them, you send a clear message. Your own needs, your own desires, your own life are secondary. And what does that tell them? It tells them that you don't believe you're worth the first place, that you're always available, always waiting, always eager. That's not attractiveness. That's desperation. So here's what you need to do. Start drawing some lines. Establish boundaries that speak of self-respect and self-worth. This isn't about being unkind or cruel. It's about respecting yourself enough to refuse to be treated as an afterthought. You need to stop being their go-to for a good time unless they recognize the give and take that genuine relationships are built on. It's time to shift the dynamics. No more being the only one who initiates, the only one who cares, the only one who makes any effort. You need to pull back, make them wonder where you are, what you're doing, and who you're with. Let them feel the void they've overlooked for so long, and when they do, they'll start to realize just how much they have taken for granted. Embrace your worth, step into your power, and let them see what a life without your undue kindness looks like. It's harsh, but it's necessary. If they truly value you, they'll step up. If not, then you've saved yourself from one-sided affection. You are worth so much more than to be anyone's second choice or backup plan. It's time they see you for the powerhouse you truly are. So close your eyes and affirm once again, I quit being nice. And if you haven't yet declared it in the comments, now is the perfect time. Let's make your commitment public and powerful. And if this video is resonating with you, if it's helping you see things differently, then smash that like button. Let me know that you value content like this, that it's making a difference in your life. Your feedback is crucial. It tells us to keep creating more videos on this topic, to keep diving deep into what it means to truly respect yourself and command the respect of others. Let's keep this conversation going. Number 1, you sacrifice your own happiness. All right, folks, let's get real with this first reason why you need to stop being overly nice. You sacrifice your own happiness. It's a hard pill to swallow, but being nice all the time, bending over backward to please someone, comes at a massive cost to your own well-being. You may not realize it in the moment, but every time you prioritize their needs over your own, you're slowly erasing yourself from the equation. And what's left? A version of you that is depleted, unhappy, and frankly unrecognizable. Let's talk about the real reason behind this, and it's simple. You're trying to attract them. Whether it's a romantic partner, a friend, or even a colleague, you're bending over backwards to stay in their good graces. But here's the kicker. When you're constantly focusing on making them happy, you lose touch with what makes you happy. You begin to live a life that's centered around someone else's needs, desires, and approval, and in the process, you start fading away. Now tell me one thing. Do you find yourself drawn to a person with no clear goals or passion for their own life? Someone who drifts through each day without any drive, living solely to please others? Of course not. We are naturally attracted to people who have direction, purpose, and a fire within them. When someone is confident in their path and passionate about their own growth, they become magnetic because they value themselves, and in turn, others are compelled to value them too. Think about it. What happens when you sacrifice your own happiness for someone else? You become desperate. There's no other way to put it. It's not that you're doing these nice things because you genuinely want to. You're doing them because you feel like you have to. You believe that if you stop being nice, if you stop giving, they'll lose interest in you and you'll be left alone. That desperation, my friend, is the death of attraction. People can sense when you're doing things out of fear of losing them rather than out of genuine care, and it's a massive turnoff. Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich." In relationships, this rings incredibly true. When you sacrifice your own happiness just to keep someone in your life, you're living according to their expectations, their desires, not in harmony with yourself. You're denying your true nature for the sake of external validation. Here's a scenario many of you might relate to. You're interested in someone, and instead of being yourself, you begin molding your behavior to what you think will please them. You text them first all the time, you rearrange your schedule to be available whenever they want, and you downplay your own needs just to fit into their life. At first, they might appreciate the attention, but slowly you'll notice something disturbing. They start pulling away. Why? Because your endless acts of kindness are making you look needy and desperate. You've become too predictable, too available, and quite frankly, boring. In trying to please them, you've erased all the mystery and excitement that come with a balanced, healthy relationship. You're no longer an equal in their eyes. You're just someone who's always there, someone who can be counted on to sacrifice their own happiness for theirs. That's not attractive. No one is drawn to someone who has no boundaries, no self-respect, and no sense of their own worth. Imagine a fire. It needs fuel to keep burning, right? In relationships, your happiness, self-worth, and boundaries are the fuel that keep the fire alive. But when you're overly nice, when you sacrifice your own needs and desires, it's like throwing water on that fire. You start to fizzle out. You're no longer a source of excitement, passion, or interest. You're just a dull spark trying to reignite a flame that's slowly dying. Instead of being the person who sets boundaries, who has their own life and interests, you become someone who is solely focused on making someone else happy. But guess what? People aren't attracted to dull sparks. They're attracted to flames. People who are passionate about their own lives, who have their own goals, and who value their own happiness as much as anyone else's. The Stoics believed that happiness comes from within, from living a life aligned with your values and true self. Marcus Aurelius said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." If you're constantly sacrificing your own happiness to please someone else, you're not living in alignment with yourself. You're living for someone else, and that's not a recipe for a fulfilling life. You need to reclaim your happiness, your self-worth, and your power. Stop sacrificing your own joy in the hopes of gaining someone else's approval. You are worthy of love, respect, and happiness on your own terms. And here's the thing, when you stop chasing after someone's approval and start prioritizing your own happiness, something magical happens. You become more attractive. People are drawn to those who respect themselves, who live authentically, and who don't sacrifice their own joy for anyone else. So here's what you have to do. Stop putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own. Set clear boundaries. Focus on your personal growth, and reignite your passion for life. When you prioritize yourself and your happiness, others will naturally start to respect and appreciate you more. Remember, self-respect is the foundation for any healthy relationship. Start living for you, not for their approval. So now here's what I want you to do. Close your eyes and affirm this. I choose my happiness. Say it out loud. Let it sink in. This is the moment you reclaim your power, your self-worth, and your joy. And if you're following along, drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose my happiness. Let me know that you're ready to stop sacrificing your well-being for the sake of someone who doesn't appreciate you. This is just the beginning, my friends. We've got 6 more reasons why being overly nice is holding you back, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Each reason will help you regain control of your relationships, your happiness, and your sense of self. So stick with me, because this video is your roadmap to breaking free from the chains of being nice and stepping into the full power of who you really are. Number 2, being too nice makes you look weak. Here's the truth that stings. Being overly nice doesn't make you look kind, compassionate, or desirable. It makes you look weak. Now I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. When you're constantly bending over backwards for someone, and whether you're trying to attract them or keep them from leaving, what you're really showing them is that you're willing to compromise your own value to please them. And that, my friend, is not strength. It's submission. People are drawn to confidence, not to those who can be walked over. Imagine you're a pillar holding up a building. If you're firm, steady, and unshakable, the building stands tall, strong, and respected. But what happens if that pillar becomes soft, flexible, bending to every pressure it faces? The building starts to collapse, and no one trusts it to hold anything up. That's exactly what happens when you're too nice in relationships. You become like that weak pillar, constantly bending to their needs and desires, losing your strength and identity in the process. When someone sees that you'll do anything to make them happy, even at the cost of your own self-worth, it's not going to make them respect you more. It's going to make them lose respect for you entirely. People admire strength, boundaries, and self-respect. By being overly nice, you send the message that you don't have those things, that you're willing to accept less than you deserve just to keep them in your life. Think about it like this. Would you want to follow someone who never stood their ground, who never had an opinion or a direction of their own? No. We follow leaders, not pushovers. We are attracted to those who are sure of themselves, who know their worth, and don't compromise it for anyone. The same goes for relationships. If you don't have the strength to stand up for yourself, why would anyone want to stand beside you? Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you're in a boat with someone else, rowing down a river. But here's the catch. You're the only one rowing. You're working so hard to keep the boat moving, but they're just sitting there, relaxing, letting you do all the work. That's what being overly nice looks like in a relationship. You're doing all the emotional labor, all the giving, while they just sit back and receive. Eventually, you'll get tired, you'll feel drained, exhausted, and used. And here's the worst part. They might just jump out of that altogether, leaving you to row alone, because in their eyes, your constant niceness has made you weak and uninteresting. When you're always available, always saying yes, always putting their needs above your own, you become predictable. There's no mystery, no challenge, no excitement left in the relationship, and that's a recipe for disaster. People crave balance in relationships. They don't want someone who will give everything without asking for anything in return. When you're too nice, you don't just lose their respect, you lose their interest. You become someone they can take for granted, someone who doesn't need to be prioritized because you've made yourself too easy to obtain. If you've ever wondered why someone walked away from you despite how much you did for them, this might be the reason. By being too nice, you didn't create any reason for them to stay. You didn't challenge them, didn't give them a reason to work for your attention or respect. And as cruel as it sounds, people don't value what comes too easily. Think about a cat with a toy. If the toy just sits there, motionless and easy to grab, the cat quickly loses interest. But if that toy moves, If it jumps around and offers a bit of challenge, the cat will stay engaged for hours. Relationships work in a similar way. If you're always available, always giving without asking for anything in return, there's no reason for the other person to stay engaged. They'll lose interest, just like the cat loses interest in the toy that doesn't move. So, what can you do? You have to shift the dynamics. Stop being overly nice. Stop saying yes to everything. Start setting boundaries that protect your time, your energy, and your self-respect. If you're constantly giving without receiving, it's time to take a step back. Give them space to miss you, to realize what they've taken for granted, and to start appreciating what you bring to the table. When you hold your ground and show that you value yourself, people will start to value you more. Strength isn't about being mean or withholding kindness. It's about knowing your worth and not allowing anyone to take advantage of it. It's about being kind, but not at the cost of your own happiness or self-respect. In the end, being too nice doesn't make you lovable. It makes you invisible. If you want to attract someone or keep someone in your life, you have to stop sacrificing your strength and boundaries in the name of being nice. Nice can be seen as weak, and weak doesn't hold anyone's attention for long. So here's what you need to do. Remember that strength is attractive, boundaries are essential, and being too nice only leads to being overlooked. Stand firm, hold your ground, and stop rowing that boat alone. Let them row with you or let them go. You deserve a partner who sees your strength and respects it, not someone who takes advantage of your kindness. And now, close your eyes and affirm, I am becoming strong. If this resonates with you, drop it in the comments so I know you're following along. Stick with me, because the next reason will dive even deeper into why being too nice is holding you back from the relationships you truly deserve. Number 3, it prevents personal growth. Now, let's dive into the next hard truth. Being too nice prevents your personal growth. When you constantly prioritize someone else's needs over your own, you're putting your own life on hold. And when you stop growing, when you stop evolving, you become stagnant, and nothing kills attraction faster than stagnation. People are drawn to growth, passion, and purpose, not to someone who is stuck in the same place, living to please others. Here's the thing. When you make someone else the center of your universe, you leave no room for yourself to flourish. You're so focused on making them happy that you forget to pursue your own goals, dreams, and personal development. Imagine a plant that never gets sunlight because it's always shaded by something else. It doesn't matter how much water you give it. Without sunlight, it withers. That's exactly what happens to you when you sacrifice your own growth to constantly cater to someone else. You lose that spark, that drive, and eventually, you lose yourself. And let me tell you, when you lose yourself, you lose the very thing that makes you attractive. Think about it. Why are we drawn to people with ambition, passion, and a sense of direction? It's because they're moving forward, constantly becoming better versions of themselves. But when you're too nice, always bending to someone else's will, you're not growing, you're stuck. And that makes you less interesting, less exciting, and frankly, less desirable. Let me give you a real-life example. You're trying to attract someone, and in the process, you start shaping your life around them. You take an interest in their hobbies. You mold your schedule to fit theirs, and you start saying yes to everything they want, even when it means sacrificing your own needs. At first, they might appreciate the attention, but over time, they start to feel something shift. They begin to drift away, and you're left wondering why. You did everything right, didn't you? You were nice, accommodating, and always available. But that's exactly the problem. You became someone who was living for them, not for yourself. People are attracted to those who are on their own journey, who have their own goals and ambitions. When you stop growing, they start to lose interest because you've stopped being the person they were initially drawn to. You've stopped challenging them, stopped inspiring them, and instead, you've become predictable. And when there's no growth, there's no excitement, no tension, no intrigue. Let me throw in an example to make it even clearer. Imagine you're climbing a mountain, each step representing personal growth and self-improvement. Now, if you're climbing with someone and they stop moving, just standing there, what happens? Eventually, you'll get frustrated, right? You want to keep going, to reach new heights, but they're holding you back. That's exactly what happens in relationships when one person stops growing. The other person, whether they realize it or not, starts to drift away because they need someone who's evolving alongside them. The same thing happens when you're trying to attract someone, but you've given up on your own personal development. You become like that person standing still on the mountain, and they start climbing away, looking for someone who matches their pace. And here's the kicker. When you put all your energy into making someone else happy, you miss out on the opportunities for your own self-improvement. You stop focusing on your own career, passions, hobbies, and overall growth. In the end, you become someone who's lost their sense of purpose, and that lack of personal growth doesn't just make you unattractive to others. It makes you unattractive to yourself. You wake up one day and realize you've become a shadow of the person you used to be, all because you were too focused on being nice to someone else. So what's the solution? It's simple. You need to start prioritizing your own growth. Start focusing on your passions, your goals, and your personal development. When you grow, you attract people who are aligned with your journey. They see your drive, your ambition, and your self-respect, and that's magnetic. Personal growth isn't just about becoming a better version of yourself. It's about maintaining the excitement and intrigue in your relationships. When you're constantly evolving, you keep things fresh. You challenge your partner to grow alongside you, and that's what creates a lasting, deep connection. Think about it. Would you rather be with someone who is stuck in the same place, or someone who is constantly improving, exploring, and becoming a better version of themselves? It's a no-brainer, right? People want to be around those who inspire them, not those who are content with standing still. The same applies when you're trying to attract someone or keep them in your life. If you stop growing, you stop being attractive. So here's what I want you to do. Take a look at your life and ask yourself, am I growing or am I stuck? If you've been sacrificing your own growth to make someone else happy, it's time to shift your focus. Start pursuing your own passions, setting goals, and evolving into the person you want to be. When you do, not only will you feel more fulfilled, but you'll also naturally attract people who value and respect your growth. Close your eyes and affirm, I choose growth. Drop this affirmation in the comments so I know you're following along. And folks, that's almost the middle of this video. If you have any questions, thoughts, or personal experiences, please share them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button under this video. You've already taken a powerful step by staying with me this far, so I challenge you to stick with me until the end. Trust me, what's coming next will give you even more insight to transform your mindset and relationships. Let's keep going. Number 4, they see you as always available, never a priority. Let's be real, when you're always available to someone, when you drop everything at a moment's notice just to cater to their needs, you're not positioning yourself as a priority in their life. Instead, you're showing them that you'll always be there, no matter how they treat you. And the harsh truth is, if you're always available, you start to lose value in their eyes. People don't prioritize what they know they can have anytime, anywhere, without effort. Imagine you have an all-you-can-eat buffet that's open 24/7. At first, it's exciting, so much choice all the time. But after a while, you stop appreciating it. Why? Because it's always there. You know you can show up whenever you want, and nothing will change. You stop valuing the experience. That's exactly what happens when you're too available in relationships. When someone knows you'll always say yes, always be there, always answer their call, they stop seeing you as a priority and start seeing you as an option. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly chased something they didn't have to work for? People are wired to value things that require effort, whether it's time, attention, or affection. But if you're giving all of that freely, without ever making them earn it, where's the incentive for them to value you? There's none. In fact, your constant availability might be the very reason they're drifting away. Let's say you're trying to attract someone. Every time they text you, respond immediately. Every time they want to hang out, you clear your schedule. You're always there, ready to accommodate their plans. But here's what happens. Over time, they start to take you for granted. They know you'll always say yes, so there's no urgency, no excitement, no need to prioritize you. You've made yourself too accessible, and in doing so, you've lost your place as a priority in their life. People value what's scarce. When something isn't available all the time, it becomes more desirable. That's why someone who has a busy, fulfilling life, someone who doesn't drop everything for others, commands more respect and attention. When you're less available, people have to work to fit into your life, and that effort creates value. It sends the message that your time and attention are precious, and that they should treat you accordingly. If you're always available, you're communicating that your own time, your own life, doesn't matter as much as theirs. And over time, they'll start to believe it. They'll start making you an afterthought, someone they only reach out to when it's convenient for them. Why? Because you've taught them that you'll always be there, no matter what. So here's what you need to do. Stop being so available. Start prioritizing your own life, your own passions, your own time. When you show that you're not always there at the drop of a hat, you'll notice something incredible. They'll start to miss you. They'll realize they can't take you for granted anymore. And that's when you shift from being an option to being a priority. Affirm this with me. I am not an option. I am a priority. You've made it this far, and trust me, what's coming next will take everything we've discussed to a deeper level. The next points are the real game changers, the ones that can completely shift how you're seen in your relationships. So stay with me, because the real transformation is just about to begin. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Number 5, you attract users, not genuine connections. Here's another tough reality. When you're too nice, you don't attract genuine people, you attract users. People who see your kindness as something they can exploit rather than appreciate. And the more you bend over backward for them, the more they'll take advantage of you without ever giving back. Being overly nice without setting boundaries is like putting a big sign on your forehead that says, "I'm here for you to use." It's harsh, but it's true. Think about it like this. When you're constantly giving without any expectation of return, the wrong people, users, will flock to you. These are the people who only reach out when they need something, who disappear when you need support, and who never invest in the relationship. They see your kindness as a tool for their own gain, not as something to be reciprocated or valued. Instead of attracting someone who genuinely cares about you, you end up with people who only want what they can get from you. Imagine you're hosting a dinner party, and you're the one doing all the cooking, serving, and cleaning, while everyone else just enjoys the food without offering to help. At first, it might seem like everyone appreciates your efforts, but over time, you notice that no one ever brings anything to the table. No one helps with the cleanup. They come, eat, and leave, only to return the next time they want something. That's exactly what it's like when you're too nice in relationships. You become the person who gives, while they just take and walk away. This is especially damaging when you're trying to attract someone, because instead of forming a real, genuine connection, you end up in a one-sided dynamic. You think that by being nice, by always saying yes, by always putting their needs first, they'll appreciate you and want to stick around. But in reality, users are drawn to that behavior because they see it as an opportunity. They don't have to invest emotionally because you're doing all the heavy lifting for them. Over time, this one-sidedness will leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, and unfulfilled. It's a never-ending cycle where you keep giving, hoping that one day they'll realize your worth, but they never do. And the reason is simple. Users don't value people. They value what people can do for them. They don't want a deep connection. They just want someone who will always be there to meet their needs without any effort on their part. But here's the good news. You can change who you attract by changing how you behave. When you set boundaries, when you stop being overly nice and start demanding respect, the users will naturally drift away. Why? Because they're not interested in putting in the work. But the right people, the genuine connections, will step up. They'll recognize your worth, not because of what you can do for them, but because of who you are. So here's the takeaway. Stop giving away your kindness to people who don't deserve it. Start valuing yourself enough to attract those who truly appreciate you, not just what you can do for them. Affirm this with me. I attract genuine connections. Drop that affirmation in the comments if you're ready to make this shift. Stick with me because the next point will take you even deeper into reclaiming your power in relationships. Number 6, it signals desperation. Let's cut straight to it. Being overly nice signals desperation, and nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. When you're too nice, constantly giving, accommodating, and putting someone else's needs ahead of your own, it sends a clear message. You're afraid of losing them. This desperation to keep someone in your life at all costs isn't just unattractive. It actually pushes them further away. Think about it from the other person's perspective. When someone is desperate, they seem like they're constantly chasing after you, trying too hard to make you like them, bending over backward to avoid any conflict or distance. It feels like they're suffocating the relationship with their neediness, and no one is attracted to someone who seems like they're begging for attention. Instead of coming across as confident and self-assured, desperation screams that you don't believe you're worthy on your own, and that's where the problem lies. Imagine a person constantly texting, checking in, and asking to hang out, even when the other person is showing little to no interest. The person being pursued doesn't feel flattered, they feel overwhelmed and ultimately turned off. It's like walking into a store and being followed around by the salesperson who's overly eager for a sale. The more they cover, the more uncomfortable you feel. You start looking for the exit. That's exactly what happens in relationships when you signal desperation. When you're too nice, always saying yes to whatever they want, they start to question why you're so eager to please, and in their mind, it doesn't reflect positively on you. Instead of seeing it as a sign of affection, they view it as weakness, insecurity, and neediness. Over time, it makes them lose respect for you, and when respect fades, so does attraction. Here's a real-world example. You're dating someone, and every time they ask to hang out, you drop everything to be with them, even if it means canceling your own plans or neglecting your responsibilities. You never say no because you're afraid they'll think you're not interested, or worse, that they'll lose interest in you. But what you don't realize is that your constant availability makes you seem like you have nothing else going on in your life, and people aren't drawn to those who are desperate for attention. They're drawn to those who value themselves enough to set boundaries. Let's break it down with the example. Imagine you're trying to hold on to sand in your hand. The harder you grip, the more it slips through your fingers. That's what desperation does in relationships. The more you cling to someone, the more they slip away. People need space to breathe in relationships, and when you're too nice and too available, it feels like you're suffocating the connection. Desperation also shifts the balance of power. In any healthy relationship, there's a natural ebb and flow of give and take, but when one person is overly needy, it creates an imbalance. You're giving too much, and they're not giving enough in return. This unspoken imbalance makes the other person feel like they can take you for granted because they sense that you're willing to do anything to keep them around. And once someone knows you're desperate to keep them, they stop putting in effort because they don't feel they need to. They know you'll always be there regardless of how they treat you. To break this cycle, you need to shift your focus back to yourself. Stop trying to prove your worth by being overly nice. Instead, recognize that your value doesn't come from how much you give to others. It comes from how much you respect yourself. When you set boundaries, when you stop being so eager to please, you send a powerful message. I know my worth, and I'm not afraid to walk away if I'm not being valued. The key is to remember that attraction grows in space, not in suffocation. When you're not always available, when you stop trying so hard to keep someone's attention, you create a sense of mystery and intrigue. You give them a reason to miss you, to want to spend time with you, because they're not sure when they'll see you again. This absence makes the heart grow fonder. So stop being overly nice. Stop being desperate and start valuing yourself enough to demand respect and effort from others. When you do this, you'll find that the right people will naturally be drawn to you. They will value you because you value yourself first. Affirm this with me. I am worthy of respect, and I will no longer chase after those who don't value me. Drop that affirmation in the comments if you're ready to make this shift and reclaim your power in relationships.